with Saban is he brought Alabama back. Because what was Alabama before Saban? It was kind of in the trenches. It was kind of in the trenches, right? But it had won all those championships before. And now you talk about the legacy moving forward. Who's going to step into that? You're going to have all these recruits stepping away, especially in this NIL and transfer program. I don't know. I think you need a bigger name than Dabo. Dabo has not been successful in this NIL in these years, and I think you just need a bigger name. And I don't think it's coming from Mike Vrabel. I've heard some people say Mike Vrabel. He's not leaving the NFL. I think. I don't know. I don't know who's the name out there, but I just don't think that is Dabo. Even the people on in this at Alabama was screaming anybody but Dabo.
All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Welcome to All About the Balls podcast. I'm Mark Davis in the Sack House with Chris Meinhardt, Nick the Doc Skirkowitz, and no, that is not Luke Rule. That is the newest member of All About the Balls podcast family. That is Alan Tomasella. He's going to be on our new basketball episode every single week when we start it in a week or two with Jake Winnicott and myself and potentially Nick the Doc Skirkowitz as well. I start with you, Alan. How do you feel? How does it feel being part of the new member of this fucking podcast family and popping the cherry?
In the Sack House.
Yeah, bro. You know, I think I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my hands because I got a camera pointed at me. I don't know. But other than that, I do got to tell you guys, I'm coming in with a little bit of experience. All right, I've been on ESPN twice. Okay, I just want you guys to know that. All right,
like the app or
your
picks?
ESPNU, Doc.
ESPNU. Yeah, no.
You watched it. You watched it. You're saying.
Yeah. Yes, I did. Actually, I got ESPN Plus so that I cannot watch the UFC fights, but I do watch basketball on it when ABC is blocked. I don't know why they do that.
Local markets.
They do that. Local markets is a bitch.
Cable. Yeah, can't take away from cable.
Yeah,
can't take away from the cable unless you're Peacock, Doc, and then you'll take the Chiefs and Dolphins away from the fucking playoff, fucking old guys. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, I went to training in North Carolina one year and was trying to watch the White Sox, and they were playing like the Washington Nationals. And from North Carolina, that was the local market, and it was blackout. And I was in a hooch, like in the middle of nowhere, couldn't do nothing else about it, and couldn't watch the games. And it was the biggest bullshit. Like Washington Nationals were so far from where we were at, but that was the market for North Carolina.
Is a hooch for the Air Force? Is a hooch for the Air Force like a 5-star hotel, or is that like when you have to stay in like a motel?
No, that's called barracks. Yeah, that's called barracks for us. 5-star hotels like barracks.
Well, don't you guys get paid like extra when you have to stay at an army base, right? Like
probably do, to be honest.
No, I wasn't.
That's like combat pay for them.
That's
a war zone.
Yeah, combat pay, live fire. I mean, if you're at Fort Hood, you're gonna get live fire.
Whoa, Fort Cav now. Fort Cavazos.
I guess
you fucking racist.
Uncultured swine.
You
dude.
racist.
You bastard.
Oh, excuse me. No, a hooch for us is basically just like 4 walls, a bed, like
a motel.
Literally just a shack. No, not even a motel.
Or,
it's a shack.
Wait, but you guys get a bed. You actually get a bed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hell
we get cots. Maybe.
Hey, Doc,
we get cots in Florida.
But Doc, these guys get to go home during Christmas break during basic training. We don't get that.
Dude, we don't get home. Hey, buddy, I haven't been home for Christmas since 2013.
Exactly.
And it was paid.
Yep, paid. But Chris, how are you doing as we're heading into Super Wildcard Weekend? How are you feeling?
Mark, doing fucking amazing. Yesterday, greatest news of my life. Nick Saban.
Talk about that, yeah.
Fucking out. Nick Saban's out of here. Stole a big coach from Texas. Welcome to the SEC. So, I mean, hey, I'm doing very good right now.
Yeah, you're doing good, Doc. How are you feeling? We didn't get to see you the past week, and glad you survived those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts out there in New Jersey. Glad you're here.
Dangerous.
Those were not gusts, first of all. Those were sustained. There were trees down fucking everywhere hanging on power lines. I had to take like 37 detours to drop my kid off the next morning. But I am
boo-hoo.
feeling good. I am feeling good. The college phony ball is over. I am so glad that horseshit season and that bullshit is over. We are on to baseball. Hot stove is kicking off, finally heating up. The NFL playoffs are coming. It's going to be a good winter. It's going to be a good winter. It's mild and warm out here. It's going to be a good winter.
Yeah,
Doc, I have one thing for you real quick. For you to call the Pop-Tart Bowl phony, we should kick you out of the sack house.
No, absolutely not. That whole season was phony.
The Pop-Tart
After the
Bowl was
selection committee.
hands down the best thing.
No, the mayonnaise bowl is the best game when they drench the mayonnaise on the winning coach.
Ooh.
That is the best thing every single bowl season now.
Ooh.
It's the
Will
mayonnaise
Levis
bowl.
would have jizzed.
you.
Will Levis would have fucking
that's
jizzed.
that's not his brand, so he would have been probably not eating the mayonnaise. He's sponsored by what is it, Hellman's or whatever now. So yeah, he's not a
Didn't he
Duke's
come
mayo
out and
guy.
admit that? Didn't he come out and admit that was fake news?
It was staged,
Pretty much.
yeah.
He still fucking did it on camera. He still fucking put mayonnaise in his coffee and drank it.
Dude,
Like
them
that's
motherfuckers were like were bathing in it on college game day.
well, when you
Saturday
live
They
morning,
have to.
11 o'clock in the morning, and they're bathing in mayo.
That's what you do, man. You know. But hey, Chris mentioned it, boys. Let's get it out of the way. I reposted on TikTok. I reposted on Instagram. July 20th, 2023. Chris Meinhardt of our family had the hottest prediction, hottest bold take I've ever seen in my life, and we were all against it. Nick Saban, he said, was going to retire. The dynasty was going to be over for Alabama Crimson Tide, and God damn it, he was right. January 20th, 2024, arguably the greatest coach of all time for college football, retired. He stepped down after 6 championships with Alabama, 1 championship with LSU. So, boys, how are we feeling about Alabama? How are we feeling about the legacy of Nick Saban, arguably the GOAT?
See ya.
Hey, listen, I just want to ask:
Fuck Nick Saban.
is Pete Carroll a better coach because he won a Super Bowl in the NFL and he won in college? Because Saban did jack shit in the NFL.
Better NFL coach for sure, but not better college coach. No, not
There
even
are 2 different types of coaches. College and NFL are 2 significantly different coaching styles, play styles. Everything is so different. Like, you cannot compare coaches in the 2. There are so many that have gone from one level to another and failed. And Pete Carroll is the winningest coach in Seahawks history. Got him their first Super Bowl. A lot of success to him. What did we have his overall record?
Yeah, I got it right here, Doc. For Pete Carroll, 14 seasons, he was 137, 89, 10-9 in the playoffs, 1 Super Bowl win and 2 appearances. Made the playoffs 10 of his 14 years. Pretty good. I think it's a pretty good career for the Seahawks.
Those are absolutely good numbers. But I mean, when you're talking the difference in college and NFL, I mean, if you're 130 and 89, I mean, you're a dog shit coach in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be a good coach, you're 140 and 20. You know?
Yeah, I mean, NFL wise, you're playing up against the top 5% of people in the entire
is
world.
Alabama. Everybody is
Right?
Alabama.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing that comes to mind though is earlier this week we were debating greatest college teams of all time, right? I don't remember seeing an Alabama team in that list.
I said 2020 Alabama. It was COVID year. They were loaded. I know it was Mac Jones, but they had Devontae Smith. That was the year that was COVID, unfortunately. I mean, we didn't get to see the full 12 games of the regular season, but they dominated every team in the 10 games they had.
But I remember USC. I remember USC with Pete Carroll. I mean, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, all those guys.
But the problem with Alabama and Nick Saban was it was a longevity. It was a consistency. In 17 years, I think it was 17 years. Yeah, 17 years with Alabama, he literally dominated the fucking game. So, I mean, he literally, in 17 years, he won 7 titles. And he won, he won one with, he won 6 with Alabama, 7 with that, or 1 with LSU. But with Alabama, he was 200, overall 292.
He's been 17 years at Alabama already?
Yeah, he spent 17 seasons at Alabama, and he won 6 titles.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so like he dominated the game. He hasn't won one since the COVID season. Unfortunately, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs came in. But like back to Nick Saban's legacy, greatest legacy in my opinion of all time as a coach, especially our era as a fucking college football fan. I will say it's a bittersweet moment. I'm not saying I miss Tom Brady as a quarterback, but it's got that feeling of Tom Brady not being on the field in the playoffs in the regular season. It's weird not seeing Tom Brady on the fucking field. That's how it's going to be feeling, seeing not Nick Saban on Alabama's fucking sideline, especially with this new deal with ESPN and ABC where the SEC is now going in. And I know they're pissed off because now they're losing arguably the greatest coach in football today, the greatest coach of all time. It's a bittersweet moment. I'm glad he's retiring because it opens the door for everybody else. But it is going to be bitter because I do want to see Nick Saban.
I think the door was open regardless.
Oh,
I think the door was open. But let's talk about who's the bottom of the barrel for the SEC? Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt probably.
So Vanderbilt. Who's the bottom of the barrel for the NFL? Carolina,
Arizona, whichever one. I mean, whatever.
Carolina.
I think Arizona's
Alabama. When you're talking
Carolina,
about Alabama being elite and college coaches being elite, college teams being elite, you're talking, going up against cupcakes like Vanderbilt. You're talking about the Pac-12 going up against cupcakes like Colorado when they were before Deion Sanders. You're talking about garbage Arizona State teams, Washington State teams, and their bottom of the barrel is just that. You know what I'm saying? They're practically D2 and D1 at that point. But when you're talking about the NFL and Carolina, Arizona, whoever it is, any given season, will still stand up and put a fight to any college football team on the planet.
Well, yeah, because all those teams are made up of the greatest people in college. So, I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why it's hard to compare the two, but it is definitely going to be interesting. Weird to see the end of an era and Nick Saban at Alabama. Especially with the coaching carousel, you see folks leaving very frequently until they have a couple losing seasons, which Saban never had. I mean, you can't knock what the guy did. He was not successful in the NFL, but what he did in the college game, and you can't knock it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? You got to put
he was
respect
consistent in the NFL. He was 8-8 both seasons. He was consistently 500, never a losing record, never a winning record. He was consistently an average
too. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what's funny? Well, 2008 they made the playoffs. Unfortunately, Tom Brady got hurt, but the Wildcat Miami Dolphins, Ronnie Bell and Ricky Williams, did go to the playoffs, and they won the AFC to 11-5. So, I mean, let's just not say the Dolphins didn't have anything. Nick Saban, he's not meant for the NFL. That's just plain and simple. Pete Carroll transition. We don't see it. Yeah, we don't see it often. But
one thing that I would say about college, though, is I had this conversation earlier too, was that there's a lot more work that goes into college. It's a year-round grind of recruitment, and then you're training, and then you're getting your team ready, and then you're going into these games. You have no idea, you have your schedules made out years in advance, but I mean, you're just going, especially with NIL, these teams are just being built within the year. You don't know who you're going up against. And so I think that college is a little bit more grind. It's more of a grind than in the NFL, where you do have a little bit of off time. Yes, the NFL has made a way of capitalizing on it and turning it into a year-round spectacle. But college is a little bit more difficult, I would say, from the head coach's responsibility. Unless you're talking about it,
because if you recruit well, you're going to be loaded with 5-star talent, 4-star talent. It's harder in the NFL, in my opinion, to coach because you have the draft. You have to, unless you're Bill Belichick, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, where you're, as a head coach, you're not the general manager. Pretty much, if you're the head coach at Alabama, Clemson, LSU, all these big-name schools, you are the general manager. You are the big dog that's getting these boys in. I think it's easier in college. That's my opinion. But
not to mention, going to get those guys, you can literally get all of them. If you are good and you build a program, you can get, as long as you got a spot for them to play and they want to come there. It's not like you can't walk into the draft and pick the top 12 5-star, talent off the board. Recruiting in college, you can. The NIL is really leveling the playing field, but before that, it was literally like if you weren't winning, if you didn't have TV exposure, draft chance, shit like that, nobody was going to play at University of Illinois, University of Indiana.
And we forget Nick Saban turned Alabama around too. Like he completely turned the once so-called Alabama dynasty back in the day, and he made them the dynasty of the 2010s. And the 100%. Early,
didn't Michael Penix Jr. have 4 straight season-ending injuries at University of Indiana? I'm just throwing that out there.
He did have 4 straight ending season injuries.
No, I fucking hate Nick Saban with a passion because he wanted to go to the NFL and not make the dynasty at LSU. But that's pretty much, like y'all hit it. That's pretty much what made Saban probably the greatest college coach ever, is that he built that dynasty and he got the recruits. I think NIL is the huge reason on why he retired. It's because he doesn't want to play the bullshit of paying players. He wants to go in, meet his family, shake hands, and be like, "Come win natties at Alabama." And now he knows the NIL. It's making it even. He knows that he's not going to be able to compete.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's so much that he doesn't want to deal with the bullshit of paying people. I think it's more that he just doesn't like that now it's a level playing field and he doesn't have that automatic upper hand and he can't just dominate in recruiting anymore.
Because he could go he could go into any one of our houses and be like, "Hey, if you come to Alabama, you're winning a natty 1 year, you're here."
But
now he can't promise that.
Well, besides the 2021 class, besides the 2021 graduating class of high school, those guys will never experience a championship with Nick Saban or potentially Alabama. I'm pretty sure they're going to all fucking transfer out anyways. And speaking of transferring out, who's the coach that's going to have to deal with this shit? Because you have all these transfers, you have all these fucking commitments that are probably going to fucking disappear and go away. Who are the head coaches that we are looking at? Who do you think is going to be? I think Dabo should take it. We've all been waiting for Dabo to go to Alabama. This is the time. I think Dabo Swinney should come to Alabama. I don't know if he does, but I think he should.
Yeah, I think with Alabama, one thing to talk about with Saban is he brought Alabama back. Because what was Alabama before Saban? It was kind of in the trenches. Right? But it had won all those championships before. And now you talk about the legacy moving forward. Who's going to step into that? You're going to have all these recruits stepping away, especially in this NIL and transfer program. I don't know. I think you need a bigger name than Dabo. Dabo has not been successful in this NIL in these years. And I think you just need a bigger name. I don't think it's coming from Mike Vrabel. I've heard some people say Mike Vrabel. He's not leaving the NFL. I think I don't know. I don't know who's the name out there, but I just don't think that it's Dabo. Even the people on in this at Alabama was screaming anybody but Dabo
at his fucking statue too. That shit was hilarious.
I think Dabo. I mean, I don't think there's as much holding Dabo back from leaving as people think, because Alabama's going to pay him if he decides to go.
Chris sent that photo doc in our chat with me. You and
he had to pay a shit ton.
He has to pay a shitload of Clemson to leave. It was the Alabama clause.
But it's honestly, where Clemson's been going though. I mean, Clemson is fucking. They're downhill, dude. They're down. They finished a lot better last year than they should have, but they had a bad year last year. I think that, he's got proven success. He turned Clemson around. I think that it's a good interim for him to go to Alabama and, take that year or two. And if you bring in a name like Dabo, maybe guys don't transfer out, right? And now you've sped up the recovery process, so to speak. But I don't think it's going to be Dabo personally. I think it would be a good fit, but I don't think it's going to be Dabo. Call me crazy, and there's only one thing I'm concerned about him not getting the job. But my money is, especially when we talked about college coaches and NFL coaches and where success was at, my money is on Urban Meyer. The success that he had at Ohio State, there's only one program that is bigger than Ohio State. Now, I mean, obviously, when Urban Meyer was at his prime at Ohio State, it was really them, Alabama, really like the two, and Clemson that you thought were going all the way every year. But I think that his success at Ohio State, I think he was the one that had the undefeated season as well at Utah before going to Florida, before getting picked up for Florida and then making the switch over to Ohio State. I mean, you've seen what he did in the swamp. You see what he done in Ohio State, and I think that he is a guy that has that experience and that success at the college level. Didn't quite pan out. Again, the only thing that I'm concerned about is all the stuff that happened in Jacksonville and the treatment and everything else that was going on. But I think he's looking to get back into coaching since he's been an analyst, and I think that Alabama is the perfect fit for him.
I think top favorites.
I think the problem that Alabama is facing now, and we already beat a dead horse, but NIL is pretty much screwing this up because back in the day, the big thing to come to these big schools is recruiting. You can recruit these 5 stars. Now coaches everywhere are getting 5 stars, so they don't want to leave home. If this was 5 years ago and Alabama left, every head coach who said they're staying with their team would jump shit because Alabama.
First coach that got the offer.
Yeah, because Alabama can get 5 stars, but now everyone's getting 5 stars. Look at Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. He killed the transfer portal. I mean, that was a big thing with Brian Kelly coming to LSU was that he could get recruits unlike he could get at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. And honestly, is like there's some names here. You have Sark, you have Dabo, you have Kalen DeBoer. You know, like we said, Lane Kiffin's a name. On Mike Norville, Doc's coach out there at Florida State, and you have Deion Sanders. Those are some names out there. Doc Mitchell-Meyer too. It's going to be interesting to see. And boys, I guess we can all agree Nick Saban is the GOAT. Can we not agree on that for college coaches? At least he is the greatest of all time when it comes to college football coaching.
100%. 100%.
I know Chris isn't happy about that, but he's the GOAT.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I know we don't want to – well, Chris, like I said, congratulations on your bold prediction, but I don't want to beat a dead horse with this one because we talked about it on Tuesday. I know Alan didn't get a chance to talk about it too much. Bill Belichick, it wasn't official when we talked about Tuesday, but he is gone. The dynasty is over. Can't look forward to that. I can't wait to look forward to that dynasty they have on Apple Plus TV. But Belichick's gone. I will say, what a ride the New England Patriots had. He finished 266 and 121 with the New England Patriots, 30-12 in the postseason. Made the playoffs 18 times. So it means he lost 12 times in 18. So he's 1/3 of success rate winning the Super Bowl. That's pretty good, in my opinion. One of the greatest comebacks as well, unfortunately, in my expense. Dark night. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore, but let's move on from that. 6 Super Bowls, like I said, out of 9 appearances.
Who won that game?
It was crazy.
James White won the game. He was a pretty good running
game.
back for the New England Patriots. Should have been the MVP. You know, Tom Brady said it himself, but
Tom Brady had a crazy catch.
Were the Falcons up that game?
Yeah, we were up pretty big. I mean, it was 28-3, no big deal. Matt Ryan's out there slinging and fucking wheeling and dealing, and then we have some piece of shit named Kyle Shanahan decides to fucking do dumb shit after dumb shit, and he's proved that the San Francisco 49ers, he's a fucking dumb coach in the playoffs. I'm not a Kyle Shanahan guy.
Is that why I have
room to talk shit about that?
Is that why I have so many reservations about the Niners this postseason? Kyle Shanahan is who he is. We know who he is every single year. He's got 12 Pro Bowlers on his team. And guess what? He's going to be a front runner. And every single time in the playoffs, he's going to call games tight because he just sweats a little bit too much.
He's not Mike Shanahan. I'll tell you that. He's not his old man. Not whatsoever. But no, congrats to you, Bill Belichick. That's all I want to say. Like I said, we beat it already. We had a feeling. I called it with Chris in the offseason. I think we all did. Belichick was going to be done after the season. Chris had the hard take, though, with Nick Saban. That was definitely the more outlandish one that you could have thought of. But, no, congrats to you, Bill Belichick. And can't wait to see you in Atlanta when you're coaching my team. So I'll see you in a few months. I'll see you on the sideline in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Listen, shout out to Jake right now. But I think one of the things that I've been saying a little bit over the last couple of days is Belichick's going to end up on the Eagles. All right, Billy B to the Eagles. It's going to happen. I think Sirianni, he's lost that locker room, and they're going to lose this weekend. It's a tough matchup, and they beat Tampa by 20 points in Tampa this year, and they're going to go in the playoffs. They're going to lose. That's my hot take. And I think Billy B, they're already looking at him. Even if they win in Tampa and they go and get smoked by either the Niners or the Cowboys, they're going to let Sirianni go. He's lost the locker room. Bill Belichick is the better guy. Plus, he sent his spy, Matt Patricia, to the organization to get a little bit of insider info.
Chris, that'd be a hotter take than Nick Saban retiring, in my opinion. That might top yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go and say that I don't think that's accurate. I think honestly, Sirianni, the Eagles have had too much success. They're not the only team to have a rough patch this year. The Niners did. Everybody did. The Bills started out like shit. Everybody's had their rough stretch this year. I don't think that the locker room is so much an issue. I think that there's a lot of aging guys on the team that are gonna create some holes next year. But I mean, they've got good depth on the defense that I think can step up and fill that. They're gonna need to fill probably Jason Kelsey. I think is going to be gone after this year, unless maybe they win a Super Bowl and he wants to come back. But I do agree that I think if Bill Belichick, wherever he's going, it's going to be a contending team. Bill's not going to go through what he's dealing with right now in New England. He's not going to start from the bottom. He's not going to like a Carolina. He's not going, I would say the Falcons. The Falcons had some great talent on that team.
Yo, look,
that
we're
could
gonna
put him
hire
over the top.
Belichick and Josh McDaniels, buddy, and we're going to the chip.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to finish out with 4 wins like he did this year, it's a great
calm
great
down.
move.
We're a 7-win team.
But
Well, one thing I
also-
would say when it
also-
comes to success, when it comes to head coaches with success, even though he just made a Super Bowl, you got guys like Bill Callahan that got fired a year later after making the Super Bowl with the Raiders. It's throughout the entire NFL history. You've got coaches that get let go because they either lost the locker room, they lost the team. Teams moving on onto a new direction. Jim Caldwell, Peyton Manning. I mean, John Fox went to 2 Super Bowls, got let go. So
I don't think it's the case. What is this? The second season, third season?
yeah, I believe this is third.
Third? Yeah, I don't. I think it's too soon of a move for Sirianni to go. I mean, from what I hear around here, as far as I know, he's still highly thought of. They're not clamoring on Philly sports radio to get rid of Sirianni. So I don't see it happening. And honestly,
you don't understand. He's trying to push that 10 coaches being. I had 8, he had 10. He's trying to get to 10. That's the problem. We're at 8 right now. He's trying to get to 10. He wants to get that number. He wants to get ahead of us. So
no, it ain't
that's what
gonna
it
happen.
is.
I honestly, and I got a lot of reservations about Bill, right? I mean, Bill didn't have any more weapons in New England, and honestly, most of the years that he won, he didn't have weapons in New England aside from Tom Brady. He had a good defense, but Tom Brady was really about it. I mean, his 2018 receiving core, I mean, he had him and Gronk, and that was really about it on offense. So, it begs the question, like, Tom Brady split off, and it kind of was that picture of, like, Brady had to prove who he was without Belichick, and he did. Belichick had to prove who he was without Tom Brady, and he didn't. You know what I mean? So it's like, do we really want to gamble on Belichick? I mean, he's a great football mind, but at the same time, where has his success been without Tom Brady? Where was he before, with Drew Bledsoe before he got hurt? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were a winning team, but, where was the long-term success and the deep postseason success? And then right after Brady left, I mean, England just went to shit, man.
I mean, I think the biggest thing was him as a GM. Like, they didn't draft well at all while he was in the GM. And a report came out today too about him with Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown saying when they visited the Patriots, he thought they were having too much fun, and that's why they didn't draft
That's
him.
surprising to hear from Bill.
So, I mean, I think the big thing with Bill Belichick was you got to get him out of that GM role. Just let him focus on the head coach role. Get an experienced GM in there with drafting, and I mean, I think Bill Belichick would be able to still get those. 19 wins he needs? 18?
14.
14.
And it's
14 to tie, 15 to pass.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I talked to Mark about earlier. Is I asked him, he said Belichick going to the Falcons, and I said, well, who's your GM there? Because at the end of the day, you want him to go in and be your head coach, not your GM. You don't want him having personnel calls. Being a Patriots fan over the course of my life, you don't want Bill Belichick being your personnel guy.
And shout out to the mismanagement of the quarterback role the last 2 years with the flip-flop that they did with Bailey and Mack. I mean, I still don't understand how they, like, dude, pick one and ride with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a shit show there. But no, I mean, all eyes are going to be on this offseason. Obviously, January 21st, I believe, is the window where you can start interviewing coaches that are currently on teams. So Belichick's obviously not there no more, so he could probably start doing it sooner. But obviously, you have the Rooney Rule. You have all these fucking rules and regulations you have to meet with hiring minorities and the female candidates. So you won't really start seeing names drop until probably late January, early February. But all eyes are going to be on Bill Belichick. And we'll be here when it happens. We will be breaking the news. Hopefully it doesn't happen during the cruise weekend, which is the Super Bowl weekend. But you usually find headlines during the Super Bowl weekend because they go under the rug a little bit because you have the Super Bowl coming up. So hopefully nothing happens. But we mentioned Pete Carroll, boys. Hey, let's jump into it. Let's jump into the wild card. Super Wildcard Weekend. And at 4:30 Saturday afternoon, we have the Road Warrior, Joe Flacco, Chris's new fucking quarterback. He's a Browns fan, traveling to H-Town to face C.J. Stroud, who I said should have been the first pick all along. I was right. I should be a general manager. Boys, what are the storylines? What are we looking forward to? What do we think is going to happen in this great, I think, potentially the best game of the weekend, Browns versus Texans?
Yeah, I mean, I think big thing was Ward injured his knee today in practice. So, I mean, that'd be a big loss for the Browns defense if he's out. I mean, so
And but Houston
I'm
has a sneaky defense too, Chris. They're actually top 12, top 13 in each category. They're a sneaky defense.
yeah, and when these two teams played it out before, it went to the wire, and CJ Stroud wasn't in that game either.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. CJ Stroud wasn't in that game, and so that's a big difference between Case Keenum and CJ Stroud. And when you look at their rookie cornerback that they got in with the Texans, that guy's balling too. So it's going to be a tough game. Joe Flacco's been throwing interceptions though. I mean, he's been turning the ball over. And it's going to be in Houston. I still think that the Browns have the best defense right now, outside of the Ravens. I gotta stop putting my.
Yeah. Well, the rate. So the Browns are first in yards per game, but they were 13 points per game. But it's Joe Flacco. I mean, and I love CJ Stroud. I mean, I know you were here, Alan, in the beginning of the season, especially the draft time. Almost a year ago, I had CJ Stroud as the first pick, and I love CJ. I think he's phenomenal. I think Josh McCown had it right as the quarterback's coach when he said they were going to pick him up, but they didn't. But it's his first playoff game, and Myles Garrett is a fucking freak. He's a stud. And I think they're one of the top 5, top 6 teams in sacks, turnovers too. Cleveland gets to the quarterback. They make it hard for this team. They make it hard for every team. I know they've had a couple bad games here and there, but that's the NFL season, unfortunately. I just don't know how much I trust CJ Stroud yet. Not saying he can't be a long-term great quarterback, but first year against Cleveland's defense, against Joe Flacco, who is one win away from being the all-time road-winning quarterback in playoff history when he gets to number 7 after he passes Tom Brady. One record Tom Brady won't have, by the way, because Joe Flacco's going to have it. I just don't know how much I can trust C.J. Stroud this year against this Browns defense.
No, you nailed it. I mean, you said it perfectly. You got a young team, young offense coming into this, in a unknown, like not experienced environment. Playoff environment is a lot different than regular season. He's going to be on the road. I don't think that this is the year for Houston to make that push. I don't even think they were supposed to make the playoffs this year, obviously. But I think that this is just where you kind of get that experience and that atmosphere, that feeling, and come back and next year will be a better year for him. I like CJ Stroud. I think that he is the real deal for Houston. But Joe Flacco has the experience, this top defense in the NFL, in my opinion, playing at home in the dog pound. I don't think that there's any question this is going to be all Cleveland all day.
I wouldn't be surprised if Texans jump out in the beginning, but I think that defense for the Browns is going to make adjustments and just fucking dominate the rest of the game.
Yeah. And they got way too many weapons on that Cleveland offense with the running game, even with Chubb out. David Njoku is I think one of the most underrated tight ends in the game, and he's finally getting opportunities to improve himself. Amari Cooper, as long as he stays healthy, I mean, they got weapons on this team.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, beginning of the year, remember we argued. I said the Browns are going to make the AFC Championship game. All right.
I have him in the AFC Championship game now. I said before Joe Flacco was signed, that was with P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson, Robinson, DTR. If I would have known Joe Flacco was signed and he was going to be out there like old prime time Joe Flacco slinging the fucking pill, I would have agreed with you. But I agree with you now. So Luke's pick, he's got Texans. I think we know why, boys. He's a Ravens fan. He does not want to see the real Joe Cool, the best Joe in the NFL. That's not Joe Burrow. That's Joe Flacco, ladies and gentlemen. He does not want to see Joe Flacco. I think he's picking strictly with his heart because he does not want to see his former quarterback in the playoffs. He's got the Texans.
Didn't they split?
Well, Joe Flacco didn't play those games.
No, I know, but the Browns and Ravens, didn't they split, though?
They did, but this is a different Browns team, and I have the Cleveland Browns, Doc. The Joe Flacco Browns are 4-1 as a starter. He didn't play last week. Unfortunately, they lost. That doesn't count against Joe Flacco. I have the Browns winning. Luke has got the Texans winning this game.
Did they split the away games, right?
They did.
The Ravens won in Cleveland, and the Browns won in Baltimore.
That was Deshaun Watson's probably arguably his best game as a perfect passer.
As a
perfect
Brown.
passing completion. Yeah, as a Brown. His best game as a Cleveland Brown, arguably. But yeah, I think, Doc, you had the Browns you were saying. I wrote you down for the Browns, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris,
All
you too?
Fuck yeah. I'm wearing Paige's fucking brown Yak sweater. Hey, they're going
Well,
to
you're
the.
a Browns fan.
I guess I am a Browns fan.
Alan, you were questioned on both. I mean, I'm assuming you have Browns because you said AFC Championship. Never mind.
I do have the Browns taking that. I also have obviously AFC Championship game, so I have the Browns winning next week as well.
We'll discuss division round. I know me and you, Jake, will probably talk about that on the basketball stuff. But shout out to you, Daddy Aaron. I told Chris you're on my shit list because you're not playing the old playoff bracket challenge, but you are a Browns fan. We have loyalty to you. You're the best dad of the group. Well, Doc, yeah, you have to join, send me your money. But all of us are in here besides Luke. He's a piece of shit, but that's why he's not here. And we'll rip him for that. But yeah, it's going to be a good game, I think. What was that?
I said he has money. He has that fantasy money.
He does have fantasy money. He did win our JV league, accordingly to Rizla. But let's move on. Saturday night, the first ever Peacock game. And wow, what a fucking game they put on. They took away Patrick Mahomes from broadcast TV, the greatest quarterback of all time. Sorry, Tom Brady. When it's all said and done, Patrick Mahomes will be the GOAT as he is hosting the Miami Dolphins in 5 degrees, 0 degree weather, negative 30 wind chill. Obviously, the storyline is the freezing cold weather and Tyreek Hill traveling back to Kansas City for the first time. What do we think about this game, boys?
I want to go Miami so bad because the Kansas City offense has just been exposed. The 30 receivers that Patrick Mahomes is throwing to every game is just not cutting it. Too many drops. But unfortunately, I think that Kansas City defense has just been too much this year, especially since Chris Jones finally came back to the lineup. So I think I'm still going to go with the Chiefs on this one, but it's not going to be long-lived.
I mean, this is a good – it's not – I mean, a week off for Patrick Mahomes to get ready. I mean, I'm hoping Kelsey is going to get back to normal just for this game. I don't know, Doc. I mean, it's not that I think the running game, Pacheco is a beast. We see him run 100,000% possibility. He's fucking running like he's trying to kill somebody. I mean, I think the Chiefs' offense will be fine this week. I think it might be like low 20s, but I don't know. I like the offense this week against the Dolphins. They had some success against them last time. Mahomes had 2 touchdowns in a 21-14 win. I think Mahomes can do it. I think Mahomes can get these boys going. I really do. I'm not that worried about the offense this week.
Hey, listen, guys. When you go over to London, right, and you're the Dolphins, and you're the most explosive offense, right, it's a neutral field. Neutral field. And you score 14 points, right? Now you're asking them to go into negative weather, all right? Now, the Dolphins in the 2020s with Tua are 0-4 in sub-40 degree weather, all right? Now, you're asking them to go to negative weather and play against the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, the Chiefs offense is what it is, but that defense is real. And Patrick Mahomes is going to make a couple plays. He's going to do it. Tyreek Hill, is he going to catch a ball? Like, he's dropping touchdowns left and right. I don't know what's going on. Every time he catches the ball in a touchdown in the end zone, he's dropping it. And I think what we're going to see here is defense wins championships. The season starts over in the playoffs, and let's not forget Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now.
Well, let's just be honest. He's probably arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. I get Tom Brady's got his 7 rings, but when we're talking skill level, I would take Mahomes over anybody. Like, if you ask me right now to start a franchise with all the quarterbacks of all time, I'm probably taking Mahomes.
The thing about that argument is that we can say those things, right? But then at the end of it, when we look back, we're just like, Tom Brady's got the stats, he's got the winning, he's got all of it, and it is what it is. I don't want to derail this conversation. We're talking about the Chiefs and
we have
right now.
Yeah, we have a whole off season for that when it's nothing going on. We have an off season for that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like Chris mentioned it, Luke mentioned it, like you said, under 40 degrees. And Chris, if it's 0 degrees, what's the difference between 40 and 0?
I mean, that's a whole fucking 40 degrees.
Yeah, you just say
Yeah,
it.
no, it's
That's a whole fucking
big old
I-
difference.
Oh shit! Hey,
I had a quick
And when
math that
somebody is
one.
from wind, that's a lot different.
I
Had a
don't care
quick
what you
math.
have on underneath, okay? And I'll have waffles and silks on, and on top of that OCPs. And guess what? Negative weather, that wind is cutting right through all of it, okay? And these guys, they got on silks or whatever. What do they got? Spandex.
And it's not just 0 degrees; it's negative 30-degree wind chill on top of that.
That's the difference maker.
So interesting. So I'm interested, Chris, to see Tyreek Hill's first game back in Kansas City. Unfortunately, Germany stole the fucking game from us the first time, but interesting to see Tyreek Hill, who only had like 60 or 80 yards in his first game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, to start, I think y'all shitting on Peacock about having this game. I'm glad Peacock has it. That way I don't have to listen to Collinsworth fucking slob on Mahomes' dick the whole fucking
That
game.
is a fucking solid point.
Like, I think that was the greatest outcome, possibly. But, I mean, the Dolphins are limping into this game bad. Their defense is beat up. And I think Andy Reid and Mahomes are a completely different team. I think we can all agree in the playoffs. So, I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to get this. It's big that it's going to be Hill's first game back in Arrowhead. But I think the Chiefs have this one.
Yeah, Luke's got Chiefs. I've got Chiefs. I'm pretty sure we're all in the Chiefs. I think Allen had them as well, based on our Discord chat. I know he's rocking Kansas City as well. I just don't. I don't trust Tua. I don't trust Tua in the biggest stage. I said it from the start. You know how I feel, Chris and Doc. Allen hasn't really heard the on the camera yet. I have not been. I love Justin Herbert, but when it comes to crunch time, like I need him to be clutch. He's not a clutch quarterback. But goddamn, they should have drafted Justin Herbert over Tua. And then maybe if they would have got Tyreek Hill, we obviously don't know what the outcome would have been when it comes to years later. But if they would have had Justin Herbert, Tyreek Hill, different ball game. I just don't trust Tua. You take off that timing pattern they had with their receivers, maybe the second look. He's not the same quarterback. He doesn't scramble as much. That's where Mahomes is going to thrive. Mahomes is going to maybe get pressured most of the game, but he's going to get out of the pocket. He's going to do his thing. And Travis Kelce's going to go out there with literally a billionaire princess. He's going to go out and he's going to ball out for Taylor Swift this week. I'm telling you right now, Travis Kelce, 2 touchdowns. Both touchdowns that the Chiefs have will be from Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, big game this week. I'm going Chiefs.
Listen, no linebackers. I mean, I'm worried about. You said that you said that Mahomes is going to get pressured. From who? Everybody's injured. The entire Dolphins defense has lost people left and right, and Van Ginkel's gone. Like, who is going to cover Travis Kelce?
Kelce have a big game. Yeah,
Lockdown slot right there.
Yeah, he's a lockdown slaughter. Right? He is what the definition of burnt toast is. What Luke was saying throughout the Discord chat. He is burnt toast. But no, I think we're all on the Chiefs. I think we'll see the Chiefs and potentially this next team, the Buffalo Bills, my dangerous sleeper team. I've been on Josh Allen's bandwagon for too many years now as he's hosting a TJ Watt-less Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to you, Mike Tomlin. Somehow you got Tim with this fucking garbage offense. No Matt Canada. They replaced him. What are we thinking, boys, here with this? It's a big, big game, 50-mile-per-hour gust potentially in Buffalo, Orchard Park.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a quick one. I don't think we have to spend too much time on this game, honestly. Steelers are lucky to even be playing this game without TJ Watt. I feel like Cook and them are going to just run the ball. We'll have Josh Allen probably throw up an interception that's a punt, but I think Bill's all the way on
And
this
he's
one.
good for a fumble.
Chill out, guys. Chill out.
Well, listen.
Honestly, here's the real question. Here's a real question, because I don't think it's whether, who's going to win this football game, because I think everybody in the world knows it's going to be the Bills, right? I think the question is, when does the meltdown start to come back publicly between Josh Allen and Diggs? Because Diggs hasn't done shit the last couple of games.
I'll tell you when. The Super Bowl. That's when. The Super Bowl when they lose.
No, because especially if it does come off to a slow start and Diggs ain't getting targets or getting catches, it's going to start, like, the drama's going to start, and it's going to tear him apart in the playoffs again.
You know what I think?
I
honestly think that it's really not going to matter. It's not going to be a big issue. The last 5 weeks, I mean, what is Josh Allen throwing? 150 yards, 172 yards. Like, it doesn't
and Diggs
matter.
getting like 15 of them.
And he's
Last
not.
week he had
And
300.
so, I mean, what is it they're doing what it takes to win these games. They've been playing
Diggs
playoff
don't
football.
care about that. They were a playoff. They were a better team the last 2 years, and Diggs didn't give a shit. All he cared about was getting his touches. He didn't care about winning.
Well, the problem was they were.
He was still slamming helmets on the sideline and bitching.
But the problem the last 2 years, Doc, was they were a dominant team, and Stephon wanted the ball. This time they were 6-6, and they had to win the last 5. It wasn't like they were a dominant AFC team and going into the playoffs. And they're like, okay, well, now I need my targets. This time they were struggling to close out games. Yes, Josh Allen had some key turnovers. The run game was irrelevant at some games. That's just the way it was. But now Stephon realizes that this isn't the same Buffalo Bills team they were in 2020 and 2021 and 2022.
I heavily contend that in the playoffs, teams make you win the worst way that you can, and that's how you make that. That's how you get wins. And the Bills have been winning the worst way that they can over the last couple of games. They've been playing playoff football, and I think that that's going to help them. Obviously, they're getting a bye week. This is better than a bye week because your starters are going to play. You're not getting 3 weeks sitting on the bench like a Lamar Jackson or like a Brock Purdy. All right, this is better than a bye week because it's an easy game. They're going to get a win. They're going to get some playing time, and they're going to come out with a win.
I agree that it is a matter of, like, yes, we got to win however we can win. But what I'm saying is that, like, how long is he going to be able to hold that in for? Because we've seen it before.
The Super Bowl.
We've seen it before.
In the Super Bowl and the Niners
when he's not getting showing for nothing in the Super Bowl, yeah.
Look, obviously, we don't want to talk about divisional round, but what happens after this week? Because we already said Chiefs. So Chiefs are going to go to Buffalo. Do you think he's going to have an ego trip going up against the Chiefs? That's their big bear. That's the one that's on their back.
He's not going to trip. But they're in Buffalo this time.
Yeah.
It's not in Arrowhead. It's in Orchard Park. So that's the difference now. They're finally in Buffalo.
And Stephon Diggs is not going to be like, hey, I need 15 targets this game to show how good I am as a wide receiver. He's going to be big bear on the back. Let's win this game. I don't care what it takes.
The drama hasn't honestly been there. The drama from the Diggs family came from Travion Diggs when he tweeted earlier. It has not been Stephon. Now, that might have been from Stephon saying some shit to his little brother, but he has not been a drama queen, in my opinion, this season. Now, obviously, we'll see when, like Doc's saying, but it hasn't happened yet. So I don't know. Like I think we're all on the Bills, though. I mean, we'll see what they do. We think they play the Chiefs. It'll be another Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. But now let's get to the NFC. A game that I'm surprised wasn't the Sunday night game, and they would have flipped the Sunday night to Monday night game. But, hey, it is Jordan Love and this youngest team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, which I said I was wrong about. Congrats to the Packers. They're traveling to fucking Jerry's World to face the Dallas Cowboys, to face 12-5 Dallas Cowboys. So what do we see here, boys? Do we see Dak finally make a playoff push, or do we see what the Packers normally have done in this century and dominate this rivalry?
Dallas is just a completely different fucking team at home in Dallas. So I mean, I think Dallas wins this one. I think it's going to be close. I'm not sold on Jordan Love. Yeah, he played great some of these games, but I mean, there's some games that he played pretty bad on too.
Well, early on, yeah.
Listen, I can't say this without sounding like a Dallas homer. I'm not a Dallas homer. I'm a Patriots fan. I want you guys to know this. I have been on the Cowboys all year long. Mark knows this. But I will say this. The Packers just gave up 30 points to the Panthers. They just gave up 34 points to the Bucs, who just scored 9 points on the Panthers. I'm all on this. I think Cowboys are just gonna. This is an easy game. They're gonna blow this out. I told Mark and guys in the Discord that give or take, whoever was going to get in this last 7 seed, whoever plays the Cowboys in this game, they were going to blow them out. This is again better than a bye week. They're the number 2 seed. They're going to go up against the Packers, the youngest team in the league in the playoffs, the second youngest team in the league. Right? This is a stat that is real. They are the second youngest team in the league, and Jordan Love has played phenomenal over the last month. But guess what? He's still young, and this Cowboys team just hands down better. They've learned go through your guy. CeeDee Lamb is the guy. Go through him. Maybe they watched the Cleveland Browns play against the Houston Texans when they just threw to Amari Cooper a million times. But hey, throw him the ball. Get him involved. He's the guy. They're going to do that, and I think the Cowboys just blow him out.
He is the hottest receiver. He's hotter than Tyreek Hill this season. I mean, Tyreek Hill had a better overall season, but you're talking like the second half of the season since like the playoff push. CeeDee Lamb is the hottest receiver in football. Tyreek Hill hasn't scored since, I believe, week 13 of this season. CeeDee Lamb's been balling out here. And Luke, by the way, boys, I know Chris and Doc saw it. He's got the Packers upset, and he says he can't trust Dak in big games. Yeah, I can understand not trusting Dak in big games. I get it. The history is there. But based on what I've seen this season, they're the 2 seed. I think that they're just better at home. They're averaging home wins out of all 8 games, 21.5 points. That's over everyone they played. I get it. The Lions game was close, but the Lions are a good team. They had a healthy Sam Laporta. That's the Lions. That's not a disrespect to anyone. But the rest of the games, they've pretty much blown out. And it's the Green Bay Packers. I don't trust the young Packers yet. Like Chris, though, Allen, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be better than a bye week. I think the Packers will push the Cowboys a little bit here because the offense has been finding ways, and that's due to Jordan Love. He's proved me wrong. I said he was going to have some flash moments here and there and have a struggling year like Aaron Rodgers did his first season as a starter. But I have the Cowboys here. I think America's team wins it. I think, how about them Cowboys, right? Like, how about them Cowboys? They're one of the Super Bowl favorites, and I think it doesn't stop here. I think they beat the Green Bay Packers in Dallas, and they host potentially the Lions, the Bucs, or the Rams, depending on what we see here.
I don't think they just beat the Packers. I think they absolutely drop a dog shit on the Packers. I think the Packers get fucking blown out. It ain't even going to be close. Jordan Love is going to be good for at least 5 sacks. I'm going to say 3 picks and maybe even a pick 6 to Bland. Who knows? And I
Doc,
think
are you salty? Are you salty that the Bears couldn't upset them that last
I think
week?
that CeeDee Lamb is going off for 150 plus.
Doc, you upset that the Bears couldn't upset them week 18?
I'm going to fucking screenshot my parlay for you because I'm taking Dak for 350 as well.
Well, I mean, I can see that one. I can see that one for sure. Yeah,
Dak for 350, CD for 150. I'm going to say
Jordan
really
Love.
no run game.
Well, put Jordan Love in that parlay for 3 interceptions too. If you're all fucking talk, put Jordan Love in that fucking parlay, Doc. Put him in there.
If I could pick him for interceptions, I would.
Hey, Micah Parsons has kind of had a quiet season, other than the fact that he's got a podcast. He's really good at football, and I think in this playoffs we're gonna be reminded Micah Parsons is good at football.
Yeah,
he's really good at football.
Jordan Love gonna help bring him back to the top. Jordan Love, hot take. Jordan Love gonna be the best player for the Cowboys in this game. Best player on the Cowboys team.
I guess we're all on the Cowboys, but Luke, he's going Green Bay Packers upset
because he wants everybody out that can give him a fair fight.
Well, they're not in the AFC, but yeah, I mean, it'll help his.
If it were up to him, it would be fucking. Well, no, he wouldn't even take the Steelers because that's not even a guaranteed win. We saw what happened in that matchup.
Steelers do own the Ravens. That's we talked about that last time. But hey, boys, let's move on to probably the biggest storyline of the whole NFL playoffs, at least in the wild card round, and that is the quarterback versus former team game. That is, yes, Jared Goff versus the Los Angeles Rams. Don't forget, they shipped away a first-round pick and Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, who's playing his first ever playoff game in Detroit, not as a Lion, though, as a Ram. Obviously, the storyline's there. But you have quarterback versus former team. Sam Laporta, I know Jake is saying, is not going to play, but they're optimistic about Sam Laporta. So what are we thinking about the Lions and Rams, boys?
Honestly, this has been a different Rams team the last several weeks, and not even because of the addition of Cooper Kupp, because he has been kind of quiet. Robinson has been coming out playing real well. Puka obviously is doing Puka things. This team, top to bottom, has just been playing so much better than at the start of the year. Stafford especially is finally getting more than like 3/4 of a touchdown per game. The passing yards have kind of been there most of the season, but he's finally finding the end zone. And we've seen the Cowboys, excuse me. We've seen the Lions mismanage so many calls. That game against the Cowboys, how many opportunities they had to kick field goals, get points on the board, take the lead, tie the game, go in overtime, whatever the case is. And they absolutely squandered that opportunity away, and I think that he's going to come out greedy again this week, and I think he's gonna make some bad play calls, and it's going to cost the Lions a game. I'm taking the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so torn, boys. You know me,
Yeah.
I've been a Detroit fucking fan all year long. The Iowa farm boy, Sam Laporta, my guy, my fucking hero. He might not play, and I'm upset about that. Brian Branch did get hurt. He should be playing, though, with the wrist injury. But no Sam Laporta, potentially. That's big. You know, he opens up the middle of the field. He opens up the red zone a lot for the Lions. And, you know, Stafford's going to come out here and he's going to want to ball out. But I think the real story is, I think that little Matthew Stafford storyline is just a disguise. I think if the Rams are smart, they should just run the ball through Kyren Williams, the hottest running back in football, average most yards per game on the ground, more than Christian McCaffrey. Remember, he missed a couple games, but I think Kyren Williams, you run the clock out, you force the Lions, they have to score every drive, and you punch the ball in with Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, whoever you want to do. Just feed Kyren Williams, let him be the catalyst for this team, let him run the ball, force the Lions to score. I'm telling you right now, I think Kyren Williams is the difference maker in this game. I think he sets the tone.
And that is the name of the game. Control that outcome. Control the outcome. Force the Lions to have to go for two. Put the game in the ref's hand to put the win in your hands. Boom.
I mean, when you're playing away, you got to rely on your run game and you got to rely on your defense, and I think that's what the Rams are going to do. Detroit's been playing down the last couple of weeks. This is the one game that I have this slot that's like a coin flip that either one of these teams could win. But I think Kyren Williams is going to have to control this game, and I think the Rams are going to win it. Matthew Stafford's going to want to make a statement win right here.
I've got the Rams going a little bit deeper. I've got listen. This is one of those classic things. We're gonna see the reason why Sean McVay moved off of Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. They move off Jared Goff to get Matthew Stafford. They win a Super Bowl. Now Jared Goff goes to Detroit and he wins a division title the first time in 30 years, right? And to your guys' point, Kyren Williams has to control this game. Detroit is the number 2 defense against the run this year, second only to the Chicago Bears. That one's a little flyer, but Detroit Lions second against the run. What's different though is that the Rams have the wide receivers to make you have to compensate. You have to go. Who are you going to double team? You can't. You're gonna double team Puka. You're gonna double team Cooper. They'll kill you with Tyler Higbee. And so because they have all of those options, I think offensively that the Rams are the most complete offensive team in the league. I will say that in this playoffs, I believe that the Rams are the most complete offensive team. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in the NFC. Maybe that's a hot take, but when you look at who's in the NFC right now, is Matthew Stafford the best quarterback in the NFC
Absolutely
right now?
not. Absolutely not.
Who's better?
Take Doc.
NFC. The fact that you're not putting respect on Dak Prescott right now, I mean, you should be ashamed.
Oh, he's a Dak fanboy, so don't fool you there. He's a Dak guy.
I've been on Dak all year.
That's why that should be. He's been on
quarterbacks though.
He's top of the NFC in my opinion. I'm not taking away from Stafford, but Stafford also had a very slow start to the season. Dak has been hot all year long. He's been leading the numbers all year long. And then just to throw something in there about Jared Goff, let's not forget that this is like the closest Jared Goff has come to his Ram prime that he had in his first couple years before he tanked downhill. And it's not even that impressive because the second half of the season was really abysmal, and there was a lot of questions about whether the Lions were even going to hold on to it against Minnesota. They lost one to the Bears. That was embarrassing. So I don't think Goff is playing that premier of football. I think Stafford is playing great football. I think that he's finally coming back from last year and the early on this year, but I still think that Dak is hands down the best quarterback in the NFC. He's got my vote for MVP, him or McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, Doc, they've struggled the second half of the season. The problem though is the Rams are 7-1 in their last games. They are probably one of the hottest teams in football with the Ravens.
That's what I'm saying. You're talking two teams that are. Let me get in front of the camera here. You're talking two teams that are one's going up, one's going down. You know what I'm saying? And like Tommy said, they're a complete team. You know what I mean? And when you talk about the Lions, their biggest holes right now is that pass defense. They haven't done shit for the pass defense all year long. Geno Smith is, and I'll admit that I was wrong. Geno Smith is what everybody thought what Geno Smith used to be after his one good year and getting a contract. And, even against Geno, the Lions gave up a ton of numbers at home of all places. So, I mean, that secondary leaves a lot of room for concern, especially when you're going against an explosive passing attack like the Rams with three of arguably top receivers in the league, and Demarcus Robinson. I mean, who the hell is that guy, right? But he's been balling out. You know what I'm saying? And then and that's not even their best one. He's been balling out. You put Kupp and Nakua on top of that. This pass attack can't be stopped by a Rams secondary.
And I think we're all in the Rams. I really think so. I know Chris, he picked Rams. Obviously I know Alan's got Rams. And we're all one team in the playoffs. If you're betting out there and you're listening to us, bet the Lions now, because we're all on the Rams. We're all Rams out there, which means that sets up the door for the Detroit Lions. And I would not be upset. I don't care who wins this game, honestly. I really don't. I wouldn't mind if one of these two teams actually win the NFC. I would like to see either of those two teams represent the NFC. I would like to see Stafford back in there. I've always been a Stafford fan. I love the way he plays. People forget he was the original Patty Mahomes. Before Patty Mahomes was in the league, the problem was Matthew Stafford wasn't winning games in Detroit. That's the difference of the two. But he was doing the no-look passes.
He had a hard fall from grace after that Super Bowl appearance.
I'd say he did. I'd say he didn't have the coach, because Patty Mahomes got lucky. He got Andy Reid.
He did. Stafford had a bunch of coaches. And then he comes to Sean McVay, the boy wonder. The fucking boy wonder. And they win the Super Bowl in his first year. Last year, the year after the Super Bowl, a little bit of a hangover. Had some injuries. He also struggled. He was hurt coming into the season, but he looks good. Like you guys said, he's one of the house quarterbacks. If he's not number one, he's probably number two. I mean, that's not a bad thing to say. Either you're number one or number two. Dak and him are both balling. But boys, let's go to the last game of the year, or the last game of the week. I'm sorry, and that's a rematch of the Monday Night Football game where the Philadelphia Eagles did win 25-11. It felt like 20 points, like Alan said, but now it's the struggling Philadelphia Eagles facing a struggling offense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, what do we think is going to happen here? Do we think Tampa rides, the home game underdog momentum, or do the Eagles finally show something they've been missing all year?
I don't know. The Eagles show what they were in, the majority of this season, but I think they pull enough together to beat a weak Baker Mayfield. Rashad White has been the biggest highlight of this Bucs offense. I don't think that the Bucs pull enough together. I think Baker Mayfield is going to do what Baker Mayfield does. He's going to shit the bed, and he's going to blow the opportunity. I think that this was a huge step for the Bucs this year and for Baker Mayfield. I think that there's a lot of growth that can continue to happen, and they can get on, a level of being a top offense in the NFL. But I just think this week it's not going to happen. I think, and that atmosphere in Philly playoff game is something like they're playing in Tampa.
Yeah,
Tampa's the home team. They're the division winner. But Philly fans will travel. That's the one thing. They will be there. Don't worry. The green will be there. It's Philly. They do travel.
But still, the venue is still a big difference. But no, I don't know. I don't think that changes anything for me. I think we've seen a very slow Bucs offense the last couple of weeks. Both teams, I think, are struggling right now, and I think that the Eagles put just enough together to be able to hold on to this one. But I again, like we talked about, who was the first matchup we talked about? It's going to be short-lived.
What I feel about this game is Eagles got the worst defense in the entire playoffs. Out of every team, 14 teams, the Eagles have the worst defense
and they shouldn't.
The entire playoffs.
But
they're a solid defense on paper.
They do. And the thing is, out of all of the players, the skill players on the Tampa Bay Bucs, who are you going to shut down? Which one of them are you going to take away? All right, are you going to take away Mike Evans? Because then Chris Godwin's going to get off. Rashad White has, like you said, been the highlight. Is Chris Godwin going to get off? If you shut down Mike Evans,
he hasn't.
Well, he did a few weeks
ago. He had a stretch. He had a good little stretch. He had a couple of games where he was.
I know he's cost me a lot of parlays, and I've only been taking him for 25 or 40 every game.
Yeah, but I think that Hurts has not thrown a pass this week, and yes, dislocated.
No, the play call has been very questionable.
Staying away, right? But he has not thrown a pass this entire week, practice-wise. And I think that the Eagles are kind of sputtering to the end of the line. This really feels like the Pittsburgh Steelers from a couple of years ago. Ben
And the
Roethlisberger.
Cardinals too.
Yeah. What were they? 10-1, right? The Steelers were what, 10-0, and they sputtered to the line, lost their first game in the playoffs in the wild card. I don't know, what we're seeing from the Eagles is equivalent to what we saw from the Jaguars. We just expected it out of the Jaguars. We didn't expect it out of the Eagles. So we still sit here and we think, hey, they're going to pull it together because it's Baker Mayfield. And it's the Tampa Bay Bucs without Tom Brady, right? But
No, I'm not even
know.
talking about without Tom Brady. I'm talking strictly Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, boys. We all agree the Eagles are struggling. They really are. They are 1-5 in the last 6 after starting 10-1. I mean, a lot of injuries. Devontae Smith will be back. Obviously, he's not a problem. AJ Brown, he's questionable after that injury. Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown a pass. We all know he's in play. But like Chris said, Shane Steichen not being back as offensive coordinator, that's big. Jonathan Gannon too. The defense is taking hit. Losing both coordinators, unfortunately, has hit the Eagles. And I was wrong. I said it all year. I thought the Eagles were going to be fine. I know I said to you and Jake, and I was wrong. I really was. I didn't say Jalen Hurts was going to be a monster. He's the fucking best quarterback in the league. But I thought they were going to be manageable. And I was wrong. AJ Brown was playing good football. DeAndre Swift, Doc can tell you that from his fantasy team. He's fallen off the bed a little bit here. I don't trust the Eagles. Unfortunately, I have to go Baker. I don't want to. Luke's got the Baker Mayfield in the Bucs. Chris has got the Eagles. I think we're pretty much split. Like, I understand there's 5 of us. So 3 of us has the Eagles. 3 of us has the Bucs. 2 of us has the Eagles. I think it's going to be the ugliest, most competitive game of this wild card round. I think the Bucs win in a squeaker, but I got Tampa, and I think Baker shows he should be the starter next year. He gets a playoff win. The Bucs carry him on next year. I have Tampa Bay. Not pretty at all, but a win's a win. But boys, the last part of the show, real quick. We have our Super Bowl picks. We know it's time to do it. It's the playoffs. I want to get an MVP too. I want to get ballsy here. I want to get MVP. Chris and Luke. Chris had to step out for a little bit. He's not going to be back, but he's got the Cleveland Browns over the 49ers. Joe Flacco's his MVP. Luke, our Ravens fan, we know where he's lying. He's got Ravens, Niners, and guess who he's got as MVP? Lamar Jackson. Proves his contract, according to him. He's got Lamar Jackson and the Ravens over the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Chris has got Joe Flacco over the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Flacco winning another MVP. That's where they lie, boys.
Are we talking MVP or Super Bowl MVP?
Super Bowl MVP, yeah. Super Bowl MVP strictly.
All right, I'm going Niners. I'm going to go Niners over the Niners over the Bills. Niners over the Bills.
MVP?
An MVP, I'm going to go CMC.
Of course you are.
No,
no, Doc, I'm with you on the teams. Unfortunately, I got to go against my boy Josh Allen. I love that guy, but I have the Niners. I think they're the most complete team in the NFL. I know Brock Purdy's a question mark because he's Mr. Irrelevant. I know he kind of had a sluggish second half of the season, but I think they're going to win the game. I think that they're going to beat the Buffalo Bills. But boys, I don't have
weapons on that team.
Well, I don't have offensive player in winning my MVP. I've got Fred Warner winning the MVP of the Super Bowl. I think he's going to have 2 interceptions on Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's 2 interceptions will be both Fred Warner, and I think Fred Warner's going to have a sack or 2 in there as well. I think Fred Warner is one of arguably the greatest players in the NFL. People sleep on him. He's arguably one of the best linebackers in the NFL, which means he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. I think that the Niners are going to beat the Bills. Close game, sluggish defensive game. Both defenses play pretty good ball. But I got Fred Warner winning an MVP, the first linebacker to win MVP since Seattle Seahawks did against the Denver Broncos. So I'm going Fred Warner as my MVP over the Buffalo Bills.
I like it.
All right. Hey, listen. I called this I called the playoffs, the NFC playoffs, almost accurately from about 3 weeks ago. Mark knows this. I called it out. I've got the Dallas Cowboys against the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. And shout out Doc. I got Dak Prescott, MVP of the Super Bowl. I do think he's the best player on that team. He's the best quarterback that's going to be in that Super Bowl. And I think that we're going to get that rematch from the 90s. I think the NFC will go through the Cowboys because the Rams are hot. And they're going to go right into San Francisco and beat a Brock Purdy who is Mr. Irrelevant. And I think that they'll go through Dallas. Dallas will end up taking care of business at home. It'll end up in a Super Bowl. Josh Allen, he just throws interceptions, makes fumbles at the worst time.
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie. If the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl, I'll be pretty happy because guess what? It'll piss the whole fucking world off as America's team gets back to the top. I would love it. I would love for the whole world to explode, and it'd be good for the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys back on top. That's good for
I'm
the NFL.
happy as
That's
long as the
money.
Ravens don't go to the Super Bowl.
I know your reason. We don't want to see Luke have to brag. I mean, if they
Lamar
win, though,
Jackson is dog shit.
if they win the Super Bowl, though, it would show why they paid him. And I know, looking back at it, I wish Lamar Jackson would have been a Falcon. I really do. I think that if Atlanta would have drafted him, I think Arthur Smith would have been the coach still. I think Arthur Smith has some. I think he could be a good play caller with a good quarterback. He unfortunately didn't have that, and that's on our GM. Like I said, that's the one thing he's done wrong. That's keep Ritter as a starter. So unfortunately, though, but hey, that'd be cool if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl too. I wouldn't mind that. It'd be good for the NFL and all the fucking all the haters out there that hates the Cowboys. So it would be fun. But boys, great episode. It was great, Alan. It was good having you on here. It was good to get that cherry popped, getting you ready for the NBA. I know we're going to talk football in these NBA episodes too, because you and Jake aren't all in the NFL talk. But I know Chris is talking about maybe having 2 NFL episodes to throw you guys on there as well. So we'll start figuring that out. But it was great having you in the fucking studio this week in the Sack House. Good takes, dude. I was texting Chris all day, all night. I was texting Chris saying, "Dude, this guy's got it. This guy's got some fucking potential here." So
Yeah,
it's
I
good
really
having you here.
appreciate it, guys, man. It was awesome. I'm really happy to be here, and next time I'll write on my board properly. We'll figure out how that works.
Get that figured out, amateur. All right. It's not very ESPNU.
Hey, he made it, though. He made it on ESPN, Doc. And one of these days, maybe we'll be on ESPN. Maybe Pat McAfee calls us and we join the fucking boys. Maybe we're working
there we go.
as a B team to Pat McAfee and the boys. I wouldn't mind that. Like I said, give us a call, Pat. We're out here looking for you, man. We're fucking big fans. We want you to call us.
Huge fans.
Huge fans. But
although I'll probably be on his leaderboard for F-bombs.
oh yeah, dude. Well, Aaron Rodgers dropped an F-bomb the other day when he was talking about Jimmy Kimmel, and he said, "You think I'm fucking doing that?" And Pat's like, "God damn, like another fucking F-bomb." Aaron Rodgers is hot on these F-bombs lately, to be honest. He's had a couple last few weeks.
I'd have to tone those down. down.
Yeah. Well, the third hour you can say it when they're on ESPN Plus and on YouTube. You can say all the F-bombs you want. So just the first 2 hours.
Yeah, see, that's what I get special out of my ESPN Plus subscription.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I got the bundle.
No, I don't have it. I just go back to YouTube whenever they get off ESPN. I just go to YouTube. I mean, it's free. I mean, why not? I was watching back when they were on YouTube originally, exclusively on YouTube only. So, but no, boys, great episode. Like I said, shout out to you, Alan, Doc. Always to have you here. Chris, he had to step out unfortunately, but he killed it as always. Luke's working nights, so shout out to Luke. We'll get you back in next week, boys. It's all about the Boss Podcast. Shout out to everyone. Hopefully everyone's playoff teams wins if you're watching. This is All About the Balls Podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls Podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.